Hi, Dr. Shook here. In this video, what I'm going to talk about are autoimmune triggers. Now, autoimmune triggers, you may wonder, how did I get an autoimmune disease in the first place? Well, first of all, you have to have a genetic predisposition to develop an autoimmune condition. And then you have to have environmental factors that turn those genes on so that you express autoimmunity, so that you lose self-tolerance and your body or your immune system no longer recognizes that your tissues are indeed you and not something foreign. So that's called the phenotype, which is environment plus genes is your phenotype. That's what it takes, environment plus a genetic predisposition, and then you express autoimmunity and your immune system attacks yourself. So some of the things that we see that promote autoimmunity, and in particular we're talking about Hashimoto's thyroiditis or autoimmune thyroid conditions, but really this applies to any autoimmune condition. One of the really common things with Hashimoto's, and that's been found in the literature, there's a relationship, is a gluten sensitivity or allergy. I mean, there's research where a population of people that have been diagnosed with celiac disease, they have a higher incidence rate of Hashimoto's than general people in the population that don't have celiac disease. So basically, if you have celiac disease and a full-blown gluten allergy, then you are more likely to have Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Now, gluten has been around, and a lot of people have heard that, and a lot of people researching thyroid know this, that you need to avoid gluten if you have an autoimmune thyroid condition. However, the foods, a lot of times people go gluten-free and they think that they're home-free. Okay, I found my gluten-free foods and I can eat other things that are very similar. And there's all these great gluten-free foods out there that are wonderful, or at least you think they are. But here's the catch. See, there are foods that are called cross-reactive foods. And what I'm getting ready to tell you about this is cutting-edge science. This is immunology, and what I'm going to tell you is something that is going to just throw another kink in the equation. But here's the thing. Knowledge is power. You take the information that I give you and you use it to make your life better. Because there are a lot of people that go on gluten-free diets, for example, that have celiac disease, or that have Hashimoto's, that go on a gluten-free diet, and maybe they don't feel better. I mean, there are a lot of people that have celiac disease that are gluten-free, but they're non-responsive. And the reason for that is because of what I'm getting ready to share with you, something called cross-reactivity. There are a number of foods that will react in your body just like gluten does. And the reason for that is because the proteins, which are your body is mounting an attack against. Your immune system is attacking the protein of gluten, for example. Okay? So your immune system, this gluten molecule gets into your bloodstream, typically through a permeable gut or a leaky gut. Your immune system sees this protein, this molecule, and it says, you know what, whoa, I have no idea, what is that? And it launches an attack against it, and your B cells go out and they put these little sticky notes all over it, which are called antibodies, and that circulates through your body, and then the T cells, they come along, the T cells, and they destroy the protein. But a lot of your own tissues look like some of those proteins that leak in. Well, these cross-reactive foods, so let's say, for example, that you have an allergy or sensitivity to gluten. These cross-reactive foods, they will react the same way in your body that gluten does. And here's a list. I'm going to read a list. We use Cyrex Labs array number 4, which is the gluten-associated cross-reactive foods and food sensitivity panel. So here are some foods that have similar, see, a protein is made up of, think of a chain, okay? A protein is made up of a bunch of links in a chain. Well, those links are amino acids. And when you put amino acids together, you make a protein. Gluten has a sequence of proteins. These foods that I'm going to tell you about, a lot of them have a very similar sequence of amino acids that gluten does. So therefore your immune system can mistake these foods for gluten and attack it as well. And you'll have the same response to these foods that you do to gluten. So let me just read some of these foods. Rye, barley, spelt, Polish wheat, cow's milk, and then there's casein, which is a protein in dairy. There's alpha casein and beta casein. So those are those are things that we have to check, because milk and dairy can react in your gut as well, just like gluten can. There's casomorphin, which is a compound that, if you think, listen to this, morphine is similar. These can be very addictive substances that your body metabolizes, but also you can have an autoimmune attack against it. There's whey protein, chocolate milk. There is oats, yeast, coffee. Now, a lot of people, yeah, this is a devastating one for a lot of people, and it is because there's an addiction to coffee. But here's the deal. Mainly we're talking about instant coffees. Instant coffees are processed, and a lot of times they can be cross-contaminated with gluten or wheat, and it can have it in there, and you'll have a response to it. But this actually checks for coffee, sesame, buckwheat, sorghum, millet, hemp, amaranth. Now I'm getting ready to hit you with the one, quinoa. A lot of people eat quinoa that are on gluten-free diets, and they think they're doing the best thing for themselves. You know what? You might be, but you might not. You can cross-react to quinoa. Tapioca. Tapioca is another one that's a very common in in breads and in pizza crusts and things. It's one of the more palatable replacements for gluten, and you can react to it as well. Teff, soy, egg, corn. Here's a major one. Corn is bad for a number of reasons, but when we're talking about cross-reactivity, corn, I mean, a lot of people are like, you can't take my corn because I've got my corn chips, I've got my corn tortillas, I've got all these things that are corn that I can have. Here's the deal, folks. If you cross-react to it, it's got to go. I mean, there's just no other way to do it. Corn, here's another one. Rice and potato. That's right. You could cross-react to potato. All these foods you can react in your body, cause inflammation, perpetuate autoimmunity, and be an autoimmune trigger. This is why we want to do this test, so we can figure out what's going on with you, get it out of your diet, decrease your inflammation, heal your gut, get your body healthier, and then address any type of anemias, dysglycemia, blood sugar issues, gut, liver problems, and also fatty acid metabolism, so you can absorb your fats for your brain, for your nerves, for your hormones, so that you can get your vitamins, your A, D, E, and K in. So this is the gluten-associated cross-reactive foods and food sensitivity panel. I have done this panel on myself, and I react to a ton of these foods. I mean, actually more than most of my patients. So, it is what it is. I didn't like it, but I want to live longer. I want a better life. So this is what we've got to do to figure it out. You want to get better? You got to run the tests. I mean, there's just no other way to do it. You can do an elimination diet, and you can take every single thing out and strip it down, and then you can add foods back in. But what we're learning about that process is that when you add the food back in, I used to give it 3 days. But the delayed response can actually be 14 days later. So you eat a food, and then 14 days later you have inflammation from it. I mean, if you want to add one food back in 14 days at a time and be unbelievably strict and keep a diary and a journal, you got a good chance at adding these foods back in. But that's a very difficult thing to do. So, you want to get results, you want to do the best thing, we're going to have to do some testing. And we're going to have to do some very advanced immunological testing. And I would say go to Cyrex Labs. You can learn more about it. That's cyrexlabs.com. That's who we use, and that's what I recommend. I just wanted to share with you some autoimmune triggers, because there are some things out there that people are not aware of. Now, in the next video, I'm going to talk about some other physiological changes in your body, but in this video in particular, I wanted to cover cross-reactive foods and molecular mimicry. Thanks, I'm Dr. Shook. Thank you for taking time to learn more about your health. If you need anything, just give us a call, let us know.